This is my shovel. There are many shovels like it, but this shovel is mine, my shovel.
My best friend, this is my life. Without me, my
Shovel
is useless.
Without my shovel, I am useless.
Let it be so until all enemies are gone and peace arrives. Ivan, relax.
Hello everyone, last time I finished by making the drainage for the building spot, and next I needed to make a sand bedding as the base for my future foundation. At the start of bedding I put geotextile at the pit's bottom. I have different types of geotextile because I initially bought the wrong one. There are needle punched and thermally bonded geotextiles, and I learned after buying mine that thermally bonded is better. That's why in the middle of the pit I have needle punched geotextile. And where the drainage is along the edges of the building footprint, I use thermally bonded good geotextile. It's needed so that over time the natural soil and the fill soil don't mix. If you have natural soil, just regular sand for example, there are areas where there's just this kind of sand. You dig with a shovel and there's that kind of sand. If adding sand on top, using geotextile isn't necessary. I didn't have sand at the bottom, it was more like some kind of dust, so to keep it from mixing with the good sand I put down geotextile. The sand bedding needed to be at least 30 centimeters thick. I was lucky and my fertile soil layer was between 20 and 40 centimeters, so I didn't need to use too much sand. I wanted to do the bedding with an excavator, but the excavator didn't even make it to the site. But it couldn't move around the site, so I had to do the bedding by hand using that same much abused wheelbarrow. The wheelbarrow, thanks to some upgrades, managed to do its job and it's still alive to this day. One of the most important things when doing the bedding is to compact the base really well, to pack the sand very thoroughly. For this, I rented a plate compactor. I found a construction supply store in a neighboring town where I could rent a plate compactor. I rented a light compactor, about 70 kilograms, so I was able to load and unload it by myself without any trouble. It's better to get a bigger and heavier plate compactor because the thickness of the sand layer it can compact depends on that. A 70 kilogram compactor can compact about 20 centimeters of sand. I need to create a 30 centimeter sand cushion. That's why I did the compaction in 2 layers. I poured 20 centimeters, compacted it, added more sand and compacted again. Then I came back a second time, took the compactor and compacted the second layer. The compactor costs 1,500 rubles daily. If you take a compactor weighing 130 kilograms, it could handle 40 centimeters of sand at once, and you could compact it all in one go. It's best to compact the sand when it's damp. I didn't wet the first layer because it had just rained recently, and it only looked dry on the surface. Only the top centimeter was dry, everything else was damp. The second layer of sand has been poured. I already soaked it completely since I don't have water on the site yet, I don't have a pump. So I was running around with a bucket, pouring water over everything with the bucket. But the area is small, so I managed to soak it. I didn't spend much time on it and soaked all the sand completely. And only after soaking did I tamp it down. This is much more effective with a plate compactor. It turned out to be very easy. There are literally just a couple of levers, a couple of switches. I started it, turned on the gas, and it started running on its own. Sometimes if there are big holes or bumps you need to push it, but otherwise it moves on its own. I had to compact it about 4 times in all directions. I compacted 106 square meters and it took me about 2 hours. As for checking the sand compaction, there is a device called a penetrometer, also known as a densitometer. It actually looks very simple. It's a rod of a certain size, and it has a weight that moves along the rod. You insert the rod into the ground, lift the weight, let it go, and the weight drops. And how many times does it take for it to go into the ground? Up to a certain mark. You can check the compaction coefficient of your sand cushion using a table. But where have you seen self-builders with penetrometers, densitometers and things like that for rent? I couldn't find that in our village, so I didn't check the sand density at my place. After tamping, our sand, no matter how evenly we pour it, still ends up with these little dips. That's why after the second main layer of sand I did it again. I added sand to the dips and tamped it down, and then tamped it a third time at the end of the day, because some of the dips were about 5 centimeters deep. I tamped those as well. I think the degree of compaction of the base turned out to be more than sufficient. Now I just need to do the final leveling. With the help of this wonderful mop, I need to make the surface perfect with a few simple movements. My base will be ready once the sand bedding is leveled to a nearly perfect plane. A laser level helped me with this. Using it, I made marks like these on the stakes around the perimeter and stretched a string. With the string, you can see where there are deviations and do the final leveling of the sand. During the process of excavating the soil under the building footprint, and looking at all the mess that's happening with the groundwater and the behavior of the base itself, I decided to slightly change the type of foundation. Initially, I planned to make a shallow strip foundation. If we go back to the very beginning, I actually wanted to do it the way most self-builders do. It looks something like this. So this is just a regular piece of land. They dug trenches in the topsoil without any formwork or anything. At most just put one board on top so it would rise a little above the ground, poured the concrete right into the ground, and did the backfill with topsoil as well. They do it. It works for those crazy people. I honestly don't know what will happen to those houses in 10 years because there are a lot of videos showing how they were built, but what happened to them after some time? I think it's all pretty sad over there. I wanted to do the same thing, dig trenches and pour everything, but for the backfill I would use sand instead of fertile soil, but I just can't manage to dig deeper here at all. In the first video, I explained why you can't make a deep foundation on the type of soil I have. You definitely need to make a shallow foundation or a slab foundation. Screw piles don't work with aerated concrete. I lived in a wooden house for 20 years, I don't want that anymore. At the sand cushion stage, I installed embedded parts. Just in case these embedded parts are not deepened, they run along the bottom of the pit and don't go deeper anywhere. The main embedded parts should be here. For bringing water into the house, the entry point should be made 30 cm below the frost line. In the Leningrad region, the water line needs to be laid at a depth of 1.5 meters. I couldn't reach 1.5 meters because the water was too high and the walls kept collapsing. I couldn't dig quickly enough. But since I'm going to have insulation over the entire building footprint, and the warm blind area will end right here, there's no need to go 1.5 meters deep beyond this point. An excavator will come to me next week to connect me to the water supply, and it will dig about 1.2 meters deep here for the water. This is what you call one of those stories that really gets me fired up, and even those who are already connected to the water get fired up about it too. But that's off topic for this video, so I'll talk about it next time when I'm filming the water connection. There might even be a question of legality involved. And I'll talk about it when they connect the water for me. Once I have water, I'll be able to tell you about it, because they still might connect the water for me. Another change that happened on the site is that the excavator finally made it to me and dug a pond. Right now it doesn't look very nice because first of all it needs to be finished with a shovel, and second I need to take a net and clean up the area to make it look better. I probably can't do it this season. I had the idea to raise the plot because it was very low, and to take out the sand, level it on top, then put fertile soil on the sand and level it as well, so that in a couple of weeks I might have some grass growing, maybe a wild lawn. But anyway, here's the fertile soil, here's the sand. There's no excavator, and it wouldn't help anyway because it can't move around the plot. Now it will stand here, maybe for a month of summer, if there actually is some summer and not just on the calendar. The ground will dry out a bit, and then it will be able to move around here, and then it will come and level everything properly for the right price. As of today, this is what things look like, plus how much actual working time I've spent. We tried to film our local beauty with a drone, but since the drone is a cheap one, unfortunately it couldn't fly very high, so we couldn't get any footage from the drone. Our reservoir, which is big and beautiful, is located near the gardening community, and the drone couldn't reach it, let alone Lake Ladoga, which is just a couple of kilometers away. Here it is, Ayag may binerdita. The formwork boards have arrived, the rebar will arrive soon, and I'll soon begin assembling the formwork and reinforcement frame. The higher I go above ground level, the faster my progress becomes. So subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. See you soon, thank you for watching, goodbye everyone.